Hello. So I have something exciting today, at least for me. Um, this is my first Chanel purchase, and as you can see, this was for the Denim collection, which was apparently a very exciting collection for a lot of people who have a lot more experience with Chanel than I do. So I am happy that I was able to take part in this phenomenon. So I wanted to go over the products that I got, but also the experience. There was definitely some difference here from what I was expecting, and the overall feel and experience of this was, again, not what I had expected. I'm going to get started with the actual products that I got, my feelings about them. I'll do some swatches for you, of course. And then we'll go into the experience that I had purchasing. And I did actually, in this order, purchase both online and through a sales associate. So I somewhat unintentionally got experience from both ways of ordering there. So hopefully this is interesting for you. But let's go ahead and get into the products. All right, so I ended up purchasing the Denim Dream Quad as well as the, what is this, Coco Denim highlighter. And I also got the baby blue. We call this a lipstick or is this a lip balm? I consider these to be lip balms. I kind of got this because someone had explained this as similar to Pat McGrath's Divinal sparkly balms. I actually think this is much closer to Rabanne's formula, but it's a sparkly lip balm. Um, so this is what I ended up getting from this release. And actually, let me bring this a little bit closer. So these are the three items that I got from the Denim collection. And let me start with the quad because this, I think, is what caught my attention the most. Now, I have been watching out for Chanel for maybe 5 or more years now, because I've always been interested in their makeup. People speak very highly of their makeup, although there is some mixed opinions. And I've just been very curious. But it's very rare that makeup brands come out with color stories that work for me. And so when I saw this quad, I was like, okay, it is time. It is time for me to purchase. And I'm really, really happy that I saw this before the um, the collection launched, because what has happened to me in the past is I will see a collection, I'll be like, oh, I'm maybe a little bit interested in that. And then I will go and find out that, oh, this actually has already sold out. This is already launched. It's sold out. You're too late. That actually happened to me with the collection that had the Rouge palette and the was it Lumiere Dilution highlighter, the sparkly iridescent highlighter. That one I was very interested in, and I'm still a little bit bummed that I didn't get it. But this color story for eyeshadow is perfection for me. It's just, it gives me a really nice overall cool toned look, but also more importantly for me, I think a very light look. I have a lot of shadows in my eyes already. I have hooded eyes and slightly recessed eyes, so I don't need a lot of shadow. What I need is brightness, and I needed to be cool toned. So I was happy with the colors that were on this. And as you can see, they're very light, very pretty. Now you will see on my skin tone, the silver and the light blue look very, very similar. And that translates to my eyes as well. I'm not super mad about that, and I kind of figured that that would happen. I do wish that the baby blue had a little bit more blue in it. Here, let me get you a little bit more of that pink. And that pink is very light. That is something that I wish was a little bit different in this palette. I do wish it had a little bit more pigment to it. But once I build it up, I'm quite fine with it, to be perfectly honest. And these three colors I'm really happy are in this palette because it makes this palette bright. It makes this light. I find that a lot of palettes tend to mostly have colors that are rather deep, or at least deep for me, and that makes the palette not very usable. Because really what I use this color for, and colors like this for, is for an eyeliner. So I don't use very much of them. And I don't need more than one of those colors in a palette. And I have to say, I like this color in particular, this like deep navy blue, almost gray color. This works really well with my skin tone. This actually reminds me a lot of some colors that I have in the Natasha Denona Xenon palette, which I love the color story of that palette, but I do not like the formulas. The formulas don't work for me. I find that this one works very nicely for me. It's quite pigmented, but I can also blend it out really easily if I want to, and it's just very easy to work with. So I'm overall really happy with this palette. Um, my hesitancy with recommending it, and this kind of goes for the whole collection and probably Chanel in general, but if I remember correctly, this is $90. $90 for this. And part of what bothers me with that is I hear people complaining about like a Pat McGrath quad like this costing, what was this, like $50, $60? Let me tell you, the amount of product that you get in Pat McGrath quad versus Chanel is just crazy. Like you get so much more product. And I know this is a difference in formula, okay? And I'm not trying to knock Chanel for this, but you don't need very much of a Pat McGrath eyeshadow to get payoff. That is not true of Chanel. Chanel, you need to use a good bit. I've only used this a few times, and I've used a fair bit of this already. I don't expect this palette to last for a very long time for me, because there isn't a lot of product in it. And, this is a very high price point. This is probably the most, oh no, this is definitely the most I've ever paid for a quad. I may have paid more for a Mothership palette, but I actually don't think so. I don't think I've actually paid $90 for any Mothership product. And another thing that bothers me, and this is true for this and for the highlighter, not so much for the lip product, and we'll get to that. This packaging does not feel very luxurious. Some of the comments I see whenever a new Chanel release comes out is people will say, "Oh, it feels like drugstore makeup. Why would you pay, $1 million for it?" And I kind of thought that those reviews were, you know, kind of missing the point a little bit. But now that I have one of these in my hand and I've used it, I kind of get it. I kind of get it. There's nothing nice about this packaging. It is very simple and minimal. And I thought it would be practical too, instead of like weighty and luxurious. But the fact of the matter is, like, it doesn't open or close smoothly. And although the lacquer on this feels nice and smooth, I don't mind this being just a basic black. That's fine. Um, but the actual like using of this component is not luxurious. And I don't find it to be practical because the mechanism to open and close is not smooth. It's kind of clunky. And it doesn't like to open easily, it doesn't like to close easily. And I think that's true for both of these. So it's not like one has a faulty mechanism or something. I will also say, even though people in the reviews always say that these are bad, for a $90 palette, I figured, oh, these can't be that bad. These are just as bad as any sponge, like regular throwaway sponges you get in store for testing things out. I find it kind of strange that they would include these in a $90 palette and not have a brush. Now, I'm not expecting a lot from a a brush or sponge that comes in this, but I am expecting a certain level of luxury. These do not meet that all of the packaging for this quad, for this highlighter, I am displeased with. I know a lot of people were really excited about the denim pouch. I'm pretty whatever about it. I think I would probably have preferred a regular Chanel pouch. I don't have anything against this, but I also don't think that it's amazing. It's a denim pouch. And I know some people are gonna maybe be a little bit riled up with me saying that because I understand a lot of people are very excited about that. I don't really get that excitement. I don't quite get it. And I have to say, if they're doing a denim pouch, why wasn't this component made to be a little bit more special too? Um, so overall, I enjoy this this eyeshadow palette. I think it's a nice palette. I don't think that it was worth the money at all. And I'll touch on this again later, but this is definitely show me what Chanel gives you for the money, and I can't say I'm super impressed. So we'll get to that again in a moment, but let's go on to the highlighter. So this was something that now that I have this in hand, instead of like watching reviews, I've been a little bit surprised with people's reviews because I don't actually consider this to be a blue highlighter. Let me see if I can catch the light here, because this is very, very difficult to get in a video. Because here's the thing, is like what you're seeing on my finger, what I see in the camera right now is a white light blue. But what I see in person is a purpley pink reflect. Like I'm gonna fiddle around and see if I can get it because I think you need to see it. And I don't think I'm gonna be able to get it. This is a little bit frustrating. Maybe you can see it a little bit right there. It still looks very much like you basically just see the blue base. You're not seeing the reflect very much. But maybe you see it a little bit there. I think in the camera it looks a little bit more like white, light peachy rather than pink. But in person the reflect is a purpley pink. So let me see if I can maybe get I did not leave a good place for me to swatch this. I'm going to swatch it right here. I might build it up a little bit, and maybe you can see that pink. Yeah, you can see that a little bit better in the swatch. It's still looking a little bit more peachy rather than pink for some reason. But yeah, in person, this does not translate on my skin as a blue highlighter at all. There is no blueness to it when you use it as a highlighter. So I'm not using it built up like this. I'm using it much more sheerly. And when you do that, you don't get any of the blue base. You just get the sheen, which is pink. It is, maybe you're getting the reflect a little bit better there. This right here is what it looks like on my skin, like on my cheeks. Like that little bit that's left over after I swatched. It's just this really beautiful, natural looking sheen, but with a little bit of there's a pink flip in there, basically. Actually, let me get out one of my products. I want you to see this. If I had to compare this to a non-Chanel product, I would compare this with Pat McGrath's Pink 003. Now, mind you, the Chanel does not have the intense flip that this does, but the Chanel does have the same color flip that this does. Let me see if I can capture the flip on this one. Okay, you can see it right there. You see that pink flip, how like in this way you're kind of just seeing the white base, and then as I tilt you're seeing the pink flip. In person, that is what this looks like. And I think you just can't see it because the flip on the Chanel is not as intense as the Pat McGrath. Let me put this beneath. because they are the exact same color. The flip is the exact same color in person. You just can't see it in the Chanel because it's not as strong. But if you just take what you're seeing here from the Pat McGrath and try to superimpose it on the Chanel, that's exactly what you're getting. You just can't see it because it's not picking up in the camera for whatever reason. But it's the same pink flip here in the Pat McGrath, but the Chanel is much, 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 much softer. And I have actually tried before to sheer out the Pat McGrath Pink 003 to give a less intense flip. And it just doesn't, I mean, it does sheer out, but you're never going to be able to sheer this out enough to get what the Chanel one is giving you. But what I also wanted to point out, especially for those of you who missed out on this highlighter, because I imagine by the time I get this up, everything's going to be sold out, is you can actually still buy this. You can still buy a Chanel product that looks like this on your cheeks. Because, in my opinion, and again, I'm not someone who has a lot of experience with Chanel, but when I was there, I was swatching a lot of things because this was not available for me to swatch. I have to say, the Chanel, I believe it's White Opal, the highlighter in White Opal, is exactly the same as this. The only difference, and I really truly think the only difference, is that this has a little bit of blue in the base to make this go with the rest of the Blue Denim collection. But this is not a blue highlighter. Once you put this on your face, there is no blueness to it. I suspect if you're someone who's very warm toned, like if you're someone who blue shows up on your skin really intensely, kind of in the way that orange shows up on my skin because I'm an olive, I have an olive undertone, maybe the blue will show up on you. On me, the blue does not show up at all. Even in this swatch, do you see how little that shows up? Not very much. And on the cheeks, you're basically just getting that flip. And it's, I believe, the same flip as what you get in Chanel's White Opal highlighter. So if you already have that highlighter, you already have this. I mean, I guess you don't get the, the presentation of the slight blue pigment in here. I guess you don't get the denim pouch, but those don't mean very much to me. So this is probably the one out of this collection that I maybe regret getting a little bit because I already have, in my opinion, the better version of this. But I already got it. I've already used it. I can't return it. So I will keep it. But I paid a lot of money for this. So I do wish that that had been made a little bit more clear what this would look like on the skin, because on my skin, it's just that very light pink reflect. It's very pretty. Don't get me wrong. It's very pretty, and I will use this. But I do feel a little bit misled because this is, in my opinion, not a blue highlighter. Let me show you what I consider a blue highlighter. So this is a very old highlighter from Dior. I don't remember what this is called. Maybe it was like Holographic Glow or something. But this is from the Diorskin Nude Luminizer line. And this is 06. I don't remember what year this was released, but it is very old. But this is what I consider a blue highlighter. Maybe you can see it in the light when I turn this, but there is a blue flip to this. The base is much like the Pat McGrath 003. It's just a white base. It's supposed to be clear. I'm sure on some people it probably stays white. Let me get a swatch of this. You see how the flip on this is blue? Like, yes, you have the white base that you see, and then when you have the light, you have that electric blue showing through. That is what I consider a blue highlighter, where the highlight is blue. And again, you can't really see the reflect in this from Chanel very well. The highlighter is just it's very soft. I will give it that. It is very soft, and I'm sure for a lot of people it's very wearable because of that. But do you see how nowhere in where the light hits the Chanel, there is no blue reflect. It just has a very, very light version of this pink reflect. It's actually even a little bit more peachy in the camera. But there's no blue. All of the blue in that highlighter is in the base, which the way that I wear it and the way that I suspect pretty much anyone else would wear it would sheer out so much to the point where there isn't actually any blue that's detectable on the skin. Now, I do remember in some of the reviews, some people had brought up that you can use this to kind of mitigate redness in the skin. I disagree strongly with that. I have a good bit of redness in my cheeks. I have rosacea. This doesn't do anything to hide that. There's not enough blue pigment in here to do anything about that. I really do think that Chanel just put in a little bit of blue base in here to make this go with the collection. But this is otherwise, there's nothing blue about it. I would even go as far as to say there isn't anything cool toned about it. But I also don't consider Pat McGrath 003 to be very cool toned. This actually tends to go quite peachy gold with some of that pink in it on me. But that just might be my particular skin tone. So, but I will reiterate, I don't consider this to be a blue highlighter. I really and truly do think that this is a pink highlighter, not a blue highlighter. So this one I'm not as excited about as I thought I was going to be. I was really hoping I would get the Chanel version of the Dior highlighter, which was exciting for me because the Dior highlighter is quite old. There's a good chance that this is like a decade old at this point. So I thought I was, updating. And instead, I'm basically getting a lesser version of Pat McGrath 003. So it is what it is. I'm not entirely unhappy with it, but it's definitely different from what I thought it was going to be, for sure. All right, so that brings us to our last item here, which is the, what are these called? Are these Coco Flashes? Yes. Rouge Coco Flash in Baby Blue. And this is probably my favorite product out of what I got. And that, and it's, I think that for a few reasons. One, unlike the other two, the packaging of this one I think is really good. The way that this holds in the hand is very nice. It's not super heavy, but it feels luxurious for some reason. And there is a nice weight to it for the size. And it just feels very solid. Again, not heavy, not weighted like a Westman Atelier product, but it just feels very nice. And I want to say this feels heavier than my Pat McGrath lipsticks. And I think what maybe I like the most is it's very balanced. So the cap, when you take the cap off, it doesn't feel super cheap. That tends to be one of my issues with a lot of lip products, is when you take the cap off, the cap just feels like a throwaway piece of plastic. This feels nice, even when it's separated from the body. And I really appreciate that because a lot of lipsticks are not well balanced, and this one is. It balances perfectly. And I so appreciate it because I actually have one of Westman Atelier's lipsticks, and I am actually unhappy with the packaging for it because it is not balanced. It's the cap is actually a lot heavier than well, it's not heavier than the rest of this, but for the size it is. This is a bit less weighty than the cap, and so when you put it together, the side with the cap is it kind of tips over a little bit. And so it feels weird in the hand for me because one side is so much heavier than the other. And this just doesn't go along with the other Westman Atelier packaging that I have in terms of feel and luxuriousness. It is heavier for sure than the Chanel, but it feels less luxurious because it doesn't have a consistent weight throughout the cylinder, whereas the Chanel one does. So I really appreciate the packaging on this. I think it's very solid. I think it could be more luxurious, but I am happy with it. I truly am quite happy with it. Now, in terms of the actual product in here, it's not very hard to make me happy with a glittery lip balm. I love stuff like this. I have a few different ones I can compare to. I have some other ones as well, but these are the main ones that I use, mostly from Pat McGrath and Rabanne. And I do remember in one review somewhere, someone had mentioned that the Coco Rouge formula, or sorry, Coco Flash formula, was very similar to this formula from Pat McGrath. And when I first saw the bullets, I was like, oh yeah, they look very similar, like just the way that they're in here, the way that the formula looks. I would say that the Pat McGrath formula is more substantial and sticks to the lip better. Um, I overall just like this formula better. It's also just more glittery. It looks a lot more obvious on the lips, whereas this one is much lighter. Um, I'll be perfectly honest, I was kind of hoping that this baby blue color would be basically my upgrade for Pat McGrath's Astral Blue. And it's actually not as glittery as Astral Blue, which if you never tried Astral Blue, this is probably one of the less intense Pat McGrath products. Let's see if I still have some more in here. If you can see, there's not a lot of sparkle going on there. Even if you build it up, there's just not a lot of sparkle. It's mostly just a lip balm, which is fine. I still enjoy it for that, and you can build it up to a little bit of sparkle. But having a little bit more sparkle than that particular Pat McGrath product is not hard to achieve. But I don't find that the Coco Rouge does it all. Unfortunately, it's about the same. Well, it's the same level of glitteriness. Like there's the same amount of glitter in there, but the glitter shows up less than the Pat McGrath one, which is like fine. It's fine. They're just lip balms, but I was hoping that there'd be a little bit more glitter. This one that I had open earlier, this is in Amethyst Astral. This is probably my favorite. I think you'll be able to see the difference there immediately. You can see the purple glitter pretty clearly, and it's really nice. It's a really nice formula too, and I love how it smells a little bit of vanilla. That's maybe the one thing that I don't love about the Chanel, and I kind of had accepted this before I purchased it, but this is a little bit perfumey. I don't smell the perfume, but I can kind of taste it, and I don't really love that. But again, this formula does not remind me of either one of these formulas. These have a little bit more substance to them and they stick to the lips better. This one is truly a little bit more of like a moisturizing balm, and it reminds me a bit more of the Rabanne formula that I have. Not just the formula, but also the perfume thing. Now the Rabanne, I can smell the perfume a bit more than the Chanel, but it has the same issue where I can taste it. It's like this floral kind of perfume, and I don't love that. Now the difference with the Rabanne, and hopefully you'll be able to see this, it's less glittery than that purple one from Pat McGrath. And this is the purple one, by the way. I have both the purple and the green one. This is in a lilac cutie pie. I had forgotten about the names of these. But this one is less glittery than the Pat McGrath, but this one is more glittery than the Chanel, which, it's Chanel. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But so this is the Rabanne, this is Pat McGrath, this is the Chanel, and then this one is the Pat McGrath Astral Blue. And I think here, with the way that the lighting is, or maybe how close I am to the camera, you can see the Pat McGrath sparkles. You can see like a few blue and green sparkles in there, but you're not really getting much colored sparkle out of the Chanel. It's very, 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 very subtle. It's maybe a little bit too subtle. You get a lot more sparkle out of the Pat McGrath Amethyst, Astral, and then also the Rabanne Lilac color. And I mean, it's the same thing for the, what was this, the green color called Lollipop. Maybe on some people this would go blue, but for me it's green. And you can see how the glitter shows up a bit more there than in either the Pat McGrath Astral Blue or in the Chanel. Let's see if I can get these all in the camera at the same time. But yeah, so the Chanel is not very glittery. It's really more of like a lip balm with a little bit of sheen in there from the pearl.
All right, so I wanted to give you some better close-ups of these and maybe some different lighting. So this is some brighter indoor lighting to hopefully give you a better view of some of these colors and some of these glitters. As you can see in the indoor lighting, all of the lip balms basically look the same. You can see the difference in the color of the glitter and kind of the balminess, but otherwise they basically look the same. As far as the highlighters and the eyeshadows, they look basically the same as what I had showed you previously. It's still really hard to see that pink flip in the highlighter, unfortunately. And then I went outside to see if I could get a better look at that pink flip in the highlighter, and when you go back to it, you'll see it's still really hard to see any pink flip. You see the pink flip from the Pat McGrath Pink 003, but you really can't see it in the Chanel highlighter.
But if you're like me and you really enjoy like a wild, glittery, colorful lip balm, the Chanel doesn't really deliver on that. It's really going to give you something more subtle like Pat McGrath's original Astral Blue, but it's also not going to have those flecks of intense uh, glitter in there as well. So, which makes sense. And at the end of the day, I'm still happy with this. I don't know if I would be super excited to go out and buy another one of these, even in a different color or anything. I would be much more inclined to wait around for Pat McGrath to re-release her Divinal. Is that what this is called? These were the Divinal. Oh no, Lip Fetish Astral Lip Balm, whatever these are. I really hope Pat McGrath doesn't or Pat McGrath Labs doesn't go away because she really has some of my favorite formulas across a lot of different pieces of makeup. Um, and Chanel is unfortunately not going to be not going to be able to replace these, which I was kind of hoping Chanel would be able to do, um, but it's not. But I still do enjoy this product for what it is. It's a very nice, classy, very, very, very slightly sparkly lip balm. Again, much like the highlighter, I don't think the blue shows up very much in this. But again, I'm also very cool toned, so maybe for someone who's very warm toned, the blue might show up a little bit more. But I would not get this thinking that it's going to, you know, be an actual fun color. It's just going to give you a very slight icy look to your lips. Um, but I enjoy it. And I'm happy that I got this one. This one I'm happy with. Was it worth $50? Probably not, but you know, I kind of accepted when I purchased these from Chanel that they wouldn't quite be worth the money. Um, but I was curious. And so my curiosity has been sated. And I'm not unhappy that I got these, even the highlighter that I feel a little bit duped on. Um, I'm still happy that I purchased these, and I'm happy that it was this collection that I purchased because I think that this color story really works well for me. Even the colors that aren't as blue as I thought that they would be, the color still works for me really well. I like both blues and pinks. I mean, that's part of why I picked up this particular palette. So I'm happy with these. But that does bring me to the kind of overall experience. So let me first show you what I got in terms of purchasing online versus purchasing in store with a sales associate, because I do still have both of those pieces of packaging. So let me get those out. All right, so this was something that I was a little bit curious about when I was figuring out how I wanted to purchase from Chanel, either in store or online, um, because I was able to see kind of sneak peeks of this collection ahead of time. And I do live close to where there is a boutique, so it's not very hard for me to go and visit a boutique. And originally, I had gone over to the boutique, I think it was the day before it launched. But yeah, it was the day before it actually ended up launching. I think it was 2 days before it was supposed to launch. And they said that they didn't have anything for me to swatch in store, which I rolled my eyes at. I was like, okay, other people can swatch, but I guess you're not supposed to have these out for people yet. And then I think I went home and I was able to see it had, launched online. Um, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. And so originally I was going to buy everything in store through the sales associate, but then I ended up purchasing it was the lip balm online because this was the one thing that I really, 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 really wanted to pick up. If I hadn't been able to pick up the highlighter or the eyeshadow palette, I would still have been very sad. But I would have, I would have been fine. But I really wanted that lip balm. I was very interested in the lip balm. So let me start with what I got online, and then I will show you how this was packaged up in the store. And we can kind of see the difference there. All right, so when you order online, I'm sorry, I'm doing this in a way so you can't see my address. But when you order online, you get it in this box that folds out. It says Chanel on the top, and it is kind of a nice way of opening this. Like it looks nice. And then what I chose, I think you can choose to get either a box or this cotton bag, but I chose to get the bag, and it comes filled with this kind of protective shredded paper. I think I left the case for this so you could see how it came. But this was the packaging for the Coco Flash, and then this also came with I think this is a blank card that you can use if you were to gift this to someone, which I really appreciate them having that. And then they included a couple of perfume samples. Now, I'm not super interested in Chanel's perfumes. I was hoping that there would be other samples online, but I didn't see anything other than perfume. So I got both of these. I'll probably give them away to my friends. But these are, I've tried Chance before, and I'm very whatever about it. And then Chanel number 5, I would probably actively dislike this one. So I do wish that they had makeup samples available, but well, I guess not. And that's everything that was in here. There is a tremendous amount of that shredded paper in here, which I do think would help keep things safe. So I appreciate the way that this is packaged. I do kind of like this little pouch. This feels of nice quality. This is a nice quality pouch. So I'm happy that I got this. So let me show you what I got in store instead. So it was packaged in this lovely bag. This is nice. I'm sure someone would enjoy receiving this as a gift. And it came with a little Chanel bow. Um, and then inside it was wrapped in, or the highlighter and the eyeshadow palette were both wrapped in tissue paper. Let's see if I can get this back out. I did try to replicate everything, but it was wrapped kind of like this. I think it was wrapped a little bit more nicely. I kind of forget the way that she did it. But it was just, like this, for both the quad and the highlighter, and the packaging does say Chanel on it. Not sure if you can see that. I know some people really cared about the branding, so I thought I would show this. I don't really care either way, but again, just in case there's someone out there who does care about it. And then in store, I was looking at some of their perfumes. And then my sales associate also gave me a little sample of their, um, I think this is something that you apply before your lotion. I need to look up exactly what it was again. This was a nice touch. This is kind of more the kind of sample that I would like rather than the perfume samples. I'm probably in the minority on that, but I thought that was something worth pointing out. I will say for the amount that I spent, I am a little bit surprised that there weren't more samples involved, but it's fine. It is what it is. Um, but I would say if I were to purchase from Chanel again, um, going online is easier. I did not find that going in store was like, you know, I didn't find that the experience of going in the store made up for the fact that I had to, get in my car, go to the store, get a sales associate's attention, and go about it that way. It is much easier to order online. And I did really, really enjoy the pouch that came with it. That being said, now that I have this pouch, I don't really need another one. Um, so if I were to purchase things again from Chanel, I might go in person in the hopes that I would get a small sample like this, but honestly, um, I don't feel like you get very much either way. And this comes back to the cost of Chanel. I do feel for the amount that I paid, um, the experience was kind of so-so, and I'm being a little bit generous, I think. Um, because I had gone in store before the launch of these products because I knew that I wanted them, and I wanted to make sure that my sales associate had things that she could set aside for me, because I had kind of put together over the years that Chanel sells out very quickly. Um, and I did not think that it was hard to get put on the list, but I also wasn't really given a guarantee that she would have these things for me. She wasn't able to guarantee that. And I kind of get it because this is again my first time purchasing from Chanel. I have no history with them. But I'm not planning on being one of those people who buys every Chanel release. So that means that I can't really trust my sales associate to keep things aside for me. And then the whole online debacle was so weird. And I have to say, it's something that makes me not view Chanel in a positive light. My trust in the brand comes from that it's an older brand, and a lot of people enjoy the history of the brand, the luxury of the brand, and that you can trust that they know how to do release campaigns. And so it was very strange to me that they did a release. I think it was 2 days before when this was actually supposed to be released online and in stores. And they just decided, okay, well, we're going to just release this. They didn't make an announcement. People just found out about it and then posted about it online. And that's when I purchased this because this was the one thing that I knew I really, really, really wanted, and that I did not want to miss. So I purchased this online and I reached out to my sales associate and asked her, okay, I'm going to get this because I really don't want this to sell out without me getting it. Can you promise me that you'll have these two available for me, that you have, that amount of product available to you to assign to whatever customers? And she said she had me on the list, but again, it wasn't like a definite, like, yes, you will absolutely get these things. I will have them for you in the store. It was, there's a little bit of gray area there. So I thought about purchasing these online too. I decided to just get them in store because I decided if these sold out and my SA couldn't get them for me, I would just deal with it. I would just live with it. Because these are also very expensive, so it's not like it would be a bad thing for my wallet if I missed out on these. Um, but all that to say is the way that this collection released does not give me faith in Chanel. It doesn't give me faith that Chanel knows how to release a collection. It doesn't give me faith that Chanel will think about their customers and tell them when they're going to release a collection or when they've decided to change their plans. When they've already stated ahead of time things will release on this date, most customers are going to expect that they're going to release on that date and not 2 days before. Now, I will also say, as someone who works in IT and as someone who's browsing the website for days before, looking at these products, you could not sign into your account on Chanel for about a week ahead of time, maybe even longer. That's just when I noticed it. I believe there are some other website issues that I noticed as well. I kind of wonder if they were having website issues and this became available somehow as an actual glitch on the website and they just didn't know what to do about it. I don't know if that's true. That might just be me making up things, but I noticed a significant amount of issues on their website. Just weird things that didn't work, not being able to sign in, uh, and it just would not surprise me if these went live, not because leadership made a decision, but because something went wonky with the website and they didn't know how to fix it. And again, that also does not give me faith in the Chanel brand. So this all goes back to, will I buy from Chanel again? And the answer is probably not. I do think that for the price that I paid, I didn't get that much. Because I gotta say, like, this is not very much eyeshadow for $90. And the formula is nice. It is nice. It's not exquisite. Like there's nothing like that powerful or exciting or whatever about this that makes me want to spend another $90. You know? To me, this is like if I were to price this out in my mind with my somewhat limited experience with makeup, this is like a $30 to $40 quad. And I'm including like the packaging and everything except for the name of Chanel. I'm including in that because you're not getting a lot of product here. You are getting, what is it, 2 grams, 2 grams of product. And that 2 grams, I don't think is going to go very far. This is not a kind of product that a little bit goes a long way because these are rather sheer. So you do have to build them up a little bit. So you're paying a lot of money for a small amount of product, not very luxurious packaging, in my opinion. And I really do think what you're paying for is mostly the name. I really do think that if you price these out, however you want to price them out, you are basically paying double for the brand name. Most other brands, if they were to make the exact same product and the exact same packaging, you would probably pay half the price. So I really do think that you're paying double for Chanel. Now, I did kind of understand when I was going into this purchase that I was paying a very significant amount for the brand. And I was okay with that. I was like, you know what, that's fine. I want to know what this brand is like. I want to be able to have the experience. It's fine. And I've had that experience now. And I think I'm not going to say that I won't buy from Chanel again, but I find it unlikely that I would make this large of a purchase from them again. I think the only other thing that I would consider in terms of a large purchase from them is Their lip products, actually, they're the super expensive lipstick that they have. I would actually consider purchasing that if they came out with a sparkly lip balm insert that went along with it. Right now, I think it's just a bunch of red kind of lipsticks that go with that glass packaging. But if they made something sparkly and balmy, I would probably get it. Well, sheer and sparkly and balmy, I should say. I would maybe get it because I did enjoy that packaging. I was able to hold that in store, and I did really enjoy the experience of that. I think their other makeup products, I I just don't think that I'm getting enough from Chanel in order to pay what I'm paying. I will be perfectly honest, I was expecting more from the Chanel experience. I was expecting the in-store experience to be maybe a little bit more elevated. Um, I was expecting there to be some reason that I was paying so much for the Chanel brand. I was expecting the packaging to be better. I was expecting the website to not be as weird and having as many issues as it did. I was absolutely not expecting the launch to happen ahead of time and somewhat secretly. Um, and I will be like, I feel really bad for people who wanted that hand cream. I'm really happy that I did not want it. I kind of put that in the same category that I put these pouches in, where I just don't understand the appeal. But I do know that a lot of people were really, really, really excited about the hand cream with the denim bag. And a lot of people missed out on it because it launched early and they didn't know. And I think that's so sad for people to be geared up to spend their money with Chanel and then Chanel to just do something so that they can't make that planned purchase. I think that's sad. So I don't really know what's worse. I don't know if it's worse that Chanel decided to launch things early or if it was actually a website issue and they just didn't know what to do about it. I don't really know which one of those two is worse. Because on one hand, if they really did make that decision, they really made a decision against a lot of their customers. And I think that's very sad. And if it was just the website issues, then they need a better IT department. But overall, this didn't feel as luxury of an experience as I was expecting, especially for the price point. So I will be very wary about purchasing from Chanel again. But for all of the negativity I have in this review, I actually do enjoy these products and I will be using them and I will be very much enjoying them. But these may very well be my first and last purchases from Chanel. We shall see. So hopefully this was entertaining for you. I know this is a very late review of this collection. I know a lot of the hype around this has probably already died down because that's just how it is in the makeup world. Let me know below in the comments, did you buy anything from this collection? What did you think about it? Did you think that you got your money's worth? Or were you one of the people who missed out on the collection because it sold out so quickly? Let me know. I always appreciate your comments below and all of the insight you all have. I think you all know more about makeup than I do. I just like sharing my experiences. So on that note, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video. So bye for now.